My name is Aaron Ladd, host of the Chief Squad Show here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and I say it very seriously. The Chiefs season is on the line Sunday in Denver.
And I'm JC Pearson, and yes, this is a must-win for the Chiefs, and if they get this win, they're going to have to figure out how to slow down this Denver pass rush.
And I'm Darren Smith. Is Andy Reid's record after bye week, is it all fluff or is there something to it?
Chiefs Kingdom, stand up. It's the Chiefs Squad. Everything Kansas City Chiefs every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from Arrowhead Stadium, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Squad up. The Chiefs Squad Show starts now.
The Chief Squad Show is off and rolling on the midweek. We appreciate you joining us. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the hype button, do whatever you have to do. It helps our channel. The more of you all that we can get in here, the better. We appreciate you all for joining us. We will get to your comments, criticisms, and concerns at the end of the show. The Chiefs are back from a bye week, and Andy Reid has had a lot of success after the bye. We will discuss that in our first segment, as well as the return of the rookie tackle Josh Simmons and what impact he can possibly make as Kansas City enters a pivotal division matchup. Is this a must-win? JC has already said yes. We'll hear from Darren Smith, as well as some of the audience feedback on this one, and possibly who needs to step up the most for Kansas City in the second half of the season. They're 5-4. They're entering a pivotal matchup, and we're going to break it all down here on the Squad Show. We appreciate our everydayers and everyone for making us your first listen of the day. Andy Reid, extremely successful after the bye week. He is 22-4 lifetime following a regular season bye week. That represents the best winning percentage in NFL history. JC Pearson, is that fact or fluff that it'll make a difference when these two teams match up on Sunday?
Well, his pass record is not going to matter. How they handle the bye week and then the subsequent week is what matters. And, I think he does a great job of letting his guys get away from the game, clear your mind, get ready to come back, and get ready to go. Take care of your bumps, take care of your bruises. They don't really work during the bye week. And then when they come back fresh, mentally, hopefully physically, they're normally ready to go. So I think there's more to that in the way that he approaches it, as opposed to, what the record is. It's because of the way they approach it.
I tend to agree with that, Aaron. Look, for the most part, Andy Reid used to have a spotless record at one time, if I'm not mistaken. I think he used to be undefeated coming out of a bye week. But to JC's point, I know Coach Reid mentioned on his press on his web presser on Monday that that he even allowed his coaches, a few days off, whatever. So to me, I think the bye week obviously is important because they get a chance to recharge, sit back, and just, maybe get away. And I'm talking about the coaches, maybe kind of get away from, from thinking about the game, or at least, the Chiefs version of it. Because I know some coaches, they like to watch other teams. We know some coaches have kids that are playing football, either high school or college, so they get to focus on that. And so, gives them a couple extra days off. And then when it's time for this, like this week coming up, just like JC said, they're freshened. They're coming in with a right frame of mind. They know the task at hand. Even talking to Patrick earlier today, they know the task at hand, what they have to do, and they know that with Denver being a couple games ahead of them right now, they know that all hands are on deck at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a big deal because I remember, Marty. I mean, we used to practice most of the bye week, and then he would give us a couple of days off at the end. So, I mean, we never really recovered physically and mentally. It's good, especially, here pretty much in the middle of the season for them to get away, clear your mind, go have a few days with your family, whatever it is, not think about it, get healthy and come back and, hey, let's get ready to roll. So, I think they'll be ready to go this week.
Hey, Aaron, let me jump in. So, JC, a quick question. As a former player, you talk about playing under Marty. Because you all would hit and stuff during the bye week, granted, obviously, the CBA is much different now than it was back then. How, I guess as a former player, how important is it that you see, the difference between what you all were doing back then? Because, of course, at that time, and look, and we know Jimmy Johnson, I think the week of the Super Bowl, they were hitting all the way up until that Friday. What do you think is a different mindset from coaches in your era with Marty back in when you played versus what Andy Reid and coaches are doing now, giving the players a week off, telling them just get away as far as possible from the game?
Yeah. Well, I think now, there would be more coaches practicing like the old school if they could. They can't now because of the CBA, right? And they have people actually monitoring how long they're out at practice, what they're doing at practice, what they're wearing, all that stuff. Whereas before, there was none of that. We go as long as, Marty wanted to go, or any coach. There were a few times where we would start the entire practice over, and we'd be out there 3.5 hours, in full pads, run the goal line period over, everything. And, it's just a different mindset. Back then they could, so they did. And, training camp was full pads almost every day. We scrimmaged on the weekends. And
2-a-days too back then.
2-a-days, everything. So, they could because they did. And that was kind of the norm. And nobody wanted to deviate from that. In the event that it didn't work, and now they're saying, well, you didn't work hard enough, or you didn't put enough time in, all that stuff. Now they're mandated; they can't do those things. So, you can only wear full pads so many times a practice during the season, and that's good, for player safety. But I think sometimes that takes away from the tackling technique and fundamentals.
That's what I was going to follow up with and ask you about.
Bad tackling techniques, guys just lowering their shoulders or just diving and stuff and not wrapping up. And a lot of that comes from not doing it in practice.
Andy Reid, 22-4 lifetime after a regular season bye, but specifically with the Chiefs, he's 9-3 after a regular season bye and 6-1 in the Mahomes era. We've talked about this previously on this platform, our everyday show. Kind of how we feel about Andy Reid being a master of the CEO chair and knowing how to make his whole organization work. And this bye week and the stats that we're seeing after that, in my opinion, really emblematic of that. I've heard from Chiefs when I covered them for the 4 years there on the ground in KC, as Darren Smith does now. They're sprinkling in Broncos prep in the lead up. It's not just the bye week. They've sprinkled in the Broncos prep going back to St. Joe. These divisional opponents, they prepare for bite size throughout the season so that when you come back, it's not just smacking you in the face. You've got a little bit of it. You're refreshing. And this is not new material to you. We've been looking at Bo Nix and Sean Payton throughout the year so that we've got our preparation set when we come back from the bye. It's ready to rock. I think as far as Andy Reid and the bye week is concerned, yes, you're right, JC. These numbers mean absolutely nothing when these teams line up between the white lines this upcoming week. In Denver. Those games are not going to win the game this Sunday. This is a completely different team. Obviously, Bo Nix and Sean Payton and what they're doing this year, they have a new nucleus, a new energy. They're re-energized and feeling good. But for Kansas City, I feel like they've got the organizational structure to be able to have success. Is that going to absolutely lead to success? That's kind of the unknown factor, if you will.
Well, that goes with any team, and each year, every year is different. Team is different, but most of the time, the thing that is consistent is the coach and the staff for the most part. And we know that Andy understands how to take care of his guys. It's been proven, and he's taking care of them this year. Now it's up to them. To get the job done. Physically tired, he's taking care of that part. Let him get away. Now, when you come back, let's get ready to go. And so now we'll see what happens from that point. But you can't say that, like I said about Marty, that, during the bye week, he wore us down and we didn't have a chance to get rejuvenated and that kind of stuff. no, we know that Andy doesn't do that. So
yeah, we saw Mahomes on College Game Day, and we saw the
Yeah.
guys back at their old college towns and
Yeah,
stomping
right.
grounds.
Getting
That's
away,
that kind
having
of
some
stuff.
fun.
Yeah, it gives you a
And then when you come
little
back,
more
it's time
appreciation.
to grind. Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
And look, and then when you think about it, obviously, as you mentioned, Mahomes doing the College Game Day, and then Mahomes flew back to make sure that he and other players and Steve Spagnuolo was at the KC Current game on Sunday. So, so they got a chance to get away, kind of relax, and then as the weekend approached, a lot of them came back, wanted to support some of the other local teams here, before getting back to work this week. So, Andy's, look, to me, the biggest thing is, like you said, when it comes to Chiefs Broncos, it's easy to say, but you kind of throw the game plan away, because at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to execution. You can prepare all you want, but trust me, just like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And we know as we, get into this game or whatever, that what we've seen, especially Chiefs fans saw the last game that Denver played, it was a stinker, but there was a lot of things that they did that is still concerning, that you hope that the players, of course, as they prepare for it this week, are well prepared for.
You think Spags used some of his bye week to brush up on his interview skills?
Well, no. And I say no because that happened. That happened during the bye week. Well, that happened after the bye week. So no.
Yeah.
But that's
what happened? I mean, fill us in.
No. I mean,
yeah, you can explain for the audience. Explain for the audience.
I'm sorry. So New York Football Giants, the head coach Brian Daboll got fired on Monday, and of course, so with the team starting, the prep week, there was no need for Spags to be brushing up on his interview skills on last week. That's a good one.
I do think it's interesting that, and Andy Reid has talked about this before. I know we're going a little bit off script, but it is pertinent. It is something that's in the news right now. He always says that it's good when your guys are wanted, when your organization is being poached. I know it's tough to maintain a dynasty when you're losing pieces year after year. I'm thinking back to like Mike Borgonzi in the last year. He leaves to go to Tennessee to take over as the GM job there. Mike Kafka was a guy. Eric Bieniemy obviously left. There's always Chiefs guys that are interviewing or being in the cycle or being looked at. Spags, this is not his first time being looked at and being poked around. I think Merritt was looked at for a while for a DC job somewhere else. Like, KC is always looked at and poached and picked at. Guys want to figure out what the secret sauce is over there at Arrowhead and what's going on. This will not be the last. And I think that it's interesting that it's so early in the year now. That Spags he's already got his name getting floated in there. Now he's going to have to deal with the questions. He's going to have to deal with, what's going on? I just think it's interesting that we're talking about this week 11 and it's already going on.
Well, let me say this. Well, one, they have to call and ask for permission. So once that's even out there, we'll know. But at the moment, somebody will ask, about the job, or whatever, but he'll downplay it and focus on Denver. So, Steve, Steve is a professional. He has told me, either on the record or off the record, I can share this, that he does want to get back to being a head coach again. But I'm like, bruh, that's easier said than done. Of course, he did it, but I'm like, man, as somebody said, why would you want to go coaching off a franchise? I get it. You want a Super Bowl there, but come on now, stay where you're needed and where you're wanted. That's all I'm gonna say. JC, you're on mute, brother. You're on mute. Let's see, JC over there. JC, we can't hear you. JC.
We can't hear you, JC. I will say for Spags.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, that's an old man signal. We got you.
Repeat what you just said.
Yeah, what I was saying is that, whenever you get a job, the texters say, why would you want to go coach a terrible franchise? Well, when you get a head coaching job, that's usually what it is, right? That's why they're getting a new coach, because the team has been losing. When Andy got here, we were a terrible franchise, right? We were awful.
I was there. I know.
Yeah. So, everybody wants that opportunity. That's why most of them are in the business, is to run their own team at some point, and then hopefully be able to turn it into what Andy's turned this into. But yeah.
And let's not forget Matt Nagy's name has been bandied around for like the Tennessee Titans job as well. But But both teams will end up having to do a legit search, because they do have a thing called the Rooney Rule that someone like myself is going to make sure that gets addressed. So.
These guys are hyper competitive too. You know what I mean? They want to be in the driver's seat, in the captain's chair, steering the ship. As nice as it is to win titles in KC and be a part of what's going on there, I think everybody wants to be at some point wants to be in charge of their own organization. Any final thoughts? We're pushed up against a break here.
Yeah. I will say there is a flip side of that, though, is that you get a chance, you get that taste. And sometimes it's a little bit more than what you can handle. I mean, we saw Matt Nagy in Chicago, and, when he got fired, he came back, was a quarterback's coach under Bieniemy, and then the OC. Look, it's being a head coach, especially when you had that first time around, like he and Spags. It's a lot easier said than done. You can say that you want that smoke. I don't know, man. It ain't, that smoke ain't for everybody.
I agree. There's a lot to it.
Josh Simmons is back in the fold for Kansas City, but will he start in a pivotal AFC West matchup? We discussed that on the other side of this break. This show is sponsored by Betterhelp. As the days get shorter and the nights come earlier, it can start to feel a little heavier, especially when life is already packed with work, family, and everything else. This season, it's so important to reach out and check in with friends, family, or even yourself. Just like checking on a teammate and reconnecting with someone you haven't seen in a while can lift your spirits, reaching out for therapy can make a real difference too. BetterHelp makes that first step easier by connecting you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. BetterHelp matches you with a therapist who fits your needs, and you can switch anytime if it's not the right match. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it simple to take that first step. Listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon, because taking that step towards support might just leave you wondering, why didn't I do this sooner? All right, we are back in on the Chiefs Squad show on the Locked On Podcast Network. JC Pearson, Darren Smith, and Aaron Ladd previewing this pivotal matchup against the Denver Broncos, and Kansas City getting a key piece back just in time. It is rookie tackle Josh Simmons rejoining the team in the bye week after stepping away due to a family matter. Not much was given other than that, but it doesn't matter. He's going to potentially be back in line for the first time since week 5. That was the Jacksonville loss. Darren, what do you know? You tapped in on the presser. What did Andy Reid say about his possible availability for this game?
That he's going to be practicing, and, not that it'll be a game time decision, but as long as the practice is this week, he'll be in line to play. Now, whether or not he starts, that's going to be a coaching decision. And he may or may not announce that by Friday when he speaks to the press. But either way, he will play Sunday.
Yeah, I think he's got to play, and I think he's going to start. If everything is okay mentally, if he's okay mentally, physically, he should be fine. He knows the system. I mean, against this rush, I mean, they've got 46 quarterback sacks, which is crazy. So absolutely, if he's able, you better believe that Josh is going to be out there playing and starting.
Yeah, seeing like the last couple of Bronco Denver games, that front line and them linebackers, man, they get after the quarterback and they have no problem with the rush. And they can get to the quarterback rushing 4, they can get to him rushing 7. Now, granted, it was easy when you had both of those corners out there, but of course, with Surtain being down, it's going to be a different. I'll be interested to see how defensively they go up against Kansas City and these wide receivers when you don't have both corners on the island. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, to me, like I said, Zach Allen and who John Franklin Myers and Benito, the linebacker, Man, look, man,
They're
if
coming.
Matt Nagy probably should be up late at night trying to figure out, he and Andy Heck and Andy Reid, pass protection is going to be a must.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to have to do some other things to slow down that rush, things that we've been talking about. You're going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. They're not going to allow Pat to just find a lane, run around, and then look down the field like he's been doing. These guys are getting after the quarterback. So he's going to have to first of all, know where the blitzes and the rush is coming from, get rid of the ball quicker, some screens. They're going to have to do some different things. And, like Darren was saying, that, these guys will come from all over whenever. And so, I think that you got to spread them out. Go 4 or 5 wides. Like you said, Surtain is out. Spread these guys out. Get a couple of those linebackers off the field that their top 3 of their top 4 sack guys are linebackers. So that tells you that those guys are coming a lot. So try to get those guys off the field, make them go nickel, make them go dime, and then spread them out and then try to get rid of the ball and slow them down a little bit. And if they leave the linebackers on the field, well, now they're probably playing zone. If they go dime, well, now they're probably playing some man and that kind of stuff. So, I think you've got to be real specific game plan wise this week.
Specific to Andy Reid's comments about Josh Simmons returning, it's classic Andy. He doesn't want to put pressure on the kid to be able to go out there and immediately start from Wednesday. He wants him to know, hey, we had your back when you were away, and we still have your back now that you're here. We're not going to immediately throw you into the spotlight because I already know how these things work. I done been on the ground. I've been in the locker room. I know how this works. If Andy Reid goes up there Wednesday and says, he's good, he's starting, he's got to go, then the media immediately runs to his locker. We're there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What happened? Why weren't you here? You're in line to start. Are you prepared? Are you going to be?
Oh, they're going to do that anyway. You know that they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, but the head coaches, it's the head coach's job to take some of that pressure away.
And Andy does a great job of that.
Exactly.
Right?
And he deflects and he doesn't make it become a story before it absolutely has to be a story. I think everybody here is in lockstep and thinking the rookie is going to start. He's back in the fold. They're going to give him the week to kind of get his feet wet. They're probably going to put him through the ringer and make sure that he's in football shape. They're not going to let him tiptoe around. But I think we all know that he's going to start, but let's not immediately throw him out to the wolves. What it sounds like to me from what I've heard from both of y'all say that it is, though, if he does not start, if there is a world in which he's not in football shape and able to go, then Kansas City really doesn't have a chance because Moore's been getting worked.
No. I'm not saying no. So on my behalf, I think Jalen Moore can still handle it. I think Buffalo was a one-off based off of what he's done the last 3 weeks and play something. So I believe Jalen Moore can handle it. But here's the thing, if you got Josh Simmons there and you got him in tow, whether Moore starts and Simmons comes in and replaces him or vice versa, or Simmons starts and he looks kind of sluggish, you can always move Moore back in there, until he catches breath or get his rhythm or whatever about him. But I just like the depth of it, by Simmons being back, because again, if push comes to shove, now granted, you're not gonna have them both out there unless Jawan Taylor's knee is acting up, and then you can put more back on the right hand side. But if you have a problem with that pass rush, then you just put outside of Kelsey, you put Noah Gray out there, and put seven of them on the offensive line. That way, you kind of slow that rush down. But no, I have complete confidence in Jalen Moore, so I don't want to be taking the slant, but I know that Simmons is the better tackle. So if he's able to go, then yes, I'd say go. But if he's not ready, but I do believe he will be. We all believe he's ready and that he's going to start. But if not, I still have trust in Jalen Moore.
Yeah, and I think we'll see both of them anyway, simply because of the fact that he has been out and missed some games. You don't know what kind of shape he's in, what kind of physical condition he's in mentally. Is he all the way back? That was always a question why he was out. But man, that altitude is no joke either. So, that altitude, I'm telling you, is no joke. So even if he is back, he's ready. You don't know, what kind of physical condition he's in. You're not going to get in game shape in a week. So, I expect that both of those guys, we'll see both of those guys rotating at some point anyway. yeah, that altitude is nothing to play with.
And as it relates to the media, and Aaron, you know this as well, unless they bring Simmons to the podium tomorrow, or well, it won't be tomorrow because it'll be Chris Jones, but unless they bring him to the podium on Friday, media, trust me, he's not going to be in the locker room. I don't think he's going to be in the locker room. I think
they're going to clear him out of there. Go,
yeah,
go.
Yeah,
move. They coming.
I don't think anybody talked to him until Sunday after the game, which is fine, you know.
There was another injury update that was offered before this Wednesday practice that I thought was interesting. We've mentioned this name a couple of times on the platform, and it's in that coveted running back room. Isaiah Pacheco looks like he's going to need another week to return. I believe it's an MCL sprain. Originally, it was thought that he was going to be week to week, and possibly he would be ready after the bye week. But now we're coming up on 3 weeks since that injury was suffered in the Commanders game. Week before that, going into the Buffalo game, we don't have him coming out. And then now coming out of the bye week, it sounds like Isaiah Pacheco is not ready to go. Where's our concern level or our panic meter with him or the running back room in general now after there was no move made at the deadline? It sounds like they're just kind of rolling with Kareem Hunt, Brashard Smith, and the rest of the gang.
I'll be honest, and JC, if you don't mind if I go first, I'll be honest, I don't have any concern whatsoever. You know, because look, and I'm gonna be honest. If now, yeah, I'm glad you got that look. Because look,
no concern whatsoever.
No. Hey, trust me. Being at these games and seeing Pacheco up close, sometimes you start to wonder, like, bro, where are you running? Why you run up the back of your lineman versus in the open hole? So I mean, you know, and his stats ain't really been out there like he's exploded for, you know, seeing some big numbers. So. And the fact that, you know, we've seen how the Chiefs operate with their run game from time to time, again, kind of like Jalen Moore, I'm very confident in what Kareem Hunt can do. And Brashard Smith allowed him to get more reps as a rookie, allowed him to get more reps in the run game and the passing game, you know, is beneficial. Like Andy said, as it relates to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because he's familiar with the playbook, that's why he was brought up last week versus Elijah Mitchell. And look, I would like for him to use Elijah Mitchell because you paid him $3.5 million. If you're not going to use him, sign me, and I can also be on the practice squad and make that kind of money in this economy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear you, but you know, I think he's going to get an opportunity pretty soon. I think, but you know, I mean, like you said, I mean, this running game is what it is, and the running back room is what it is at this point. So just have to figure out how to utilize that room to its maximum potential. And you know, Kareem is a guy that's going to, you know, more of a short yardage guy. We know that. That's how they see him. Hopefully Brashard Smith gets more opportunities. But again, you know, Elijah Mitchell, new to the system. Does he, you know, he might be healthy, but does he know what he needs to know in terms of protection and that kind of stuff? And if so, you know, I think he's going to get an opportunity at some point. But, you know, I mean, we don't use them that much anyway. It's more of a change up from the past. And, you know, this week we're going to have to get rid of the ball quick. Those guys are going to have to be sound in picking up the rushers and knowing who to get and where that guy's coming from. So, you know, I expect more Kareem than Brashard, to be honest with you, because, you know, I know Kareem is more comfortable with it. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, in terms of just actually running the ball, you know, we'll probably run it, you know, 10, 12, 15 times, depending on the score.
Outside of what Mahomes does, but also let me add this, Aaron. You know, if what JC was talking about earlier is true, especially with their defense, you know, trying to come up to quarterback, it's going to be who Mahomes. And a lot of this game is going to depend on Patrick Mahomes and how he calls the plays and how quickly he gets the ball out of his hands, especially, you know, because you know they're going to be rushing to get after him. So if he can get the ball out, you know, 2 seconds or less, I mean, that's really going to stave off that running. And then also Kareem is good at the pass blocking. So I really don't see him really getting off the field as much because he's the best pass blocking running back that they have. So, you know, in a game like this, especially with Patrick Surtain being out, I mean, this is going to be one of the games that you're going to see Mahomes push and challenge the ball down the field because they're going to be without, you know, the reigning defensive player of the year.
And that's going to be
how much
key.
more, JC, let me hop in here, because how
Uh-huh.
much more can we put on Patrick Mahomes' plate in 2025? This team is turned one-dimensional. They have not invested in the running back room.
Well,
Isaiah
nobody asked
Pacheco has
Patrick to
now
be the
got
team
his
leading running back, Aaron. So I mean, that was
with
that's on
with
him.
no depth and investment in the running back room. That's essentially what we have. And now you're entering one of the Lions' den or the Broncos' den with one of the most potent pass rushes in all the NFL with no real threat of a run game. My fear here is that Kansas City goes down 10 points and the defense pins their ear back and there's no response for KC. We've seen it happen. Darren, don't give me that face. You've seen it happen.
Hold on. You said you think Kansas City could be down 10-0. Have you seen this offense?
I saw it last time out in Buffalo. They were down double digits.
No. I'm talking about Denver's offense.
Anything coming out of the bye, anything can happen, and we're running up against a break, so we can finish this on the other side. But my fear is that without a true run game and a true threat, KC is liable to now let these pass rushers just tee off on a rookie tackle who hasn't played since week 5 and a guy who lines up offsides half the time.
Oh, you gotta get the shot in now. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just asking.
All right.
When you put it like that, but I don't think it's going to go down like that.
Quick. Let me text Juwan right quick. Let him know that
you text Juwan.
I don't think it's going down.
We got to make some money. We're going to make some money real quick, and then we'll come back with more discussion and talk about possibly this being a must-win game for Kansas City.
Half the time, offsides.
It's the Chief Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network.
Oh.
When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 2,800 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Their trade master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. We are back in on the Chief Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Aaron Ladd, JC Pearson, and Darren Smith previewing the Broncos matchup for Kansas City. This is an opponent that Kansas City's really had their way with in recent memory. Kansas City, the Chiefs have won 8 of their last 10 against the Broncos. I don't even know if you can count the last one really, because they sat a lot of their starters. Kansas City did. Patrick Mahomes, overwhelmingly dominant against the Broncos. He has a remarkable 13-1 career record against the team based in Denver. But this one's different, guys. And we talked about that on the lead in. We talked about it in every segment. Kansas City 5-4. Meanwhile, the Broncos are 8-2, I believe. Is that correct? 8-2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tied with the top of the AFC. It feels like a must-win to me. I'll start off and then hand off to y'all because of what we were talking about on the last episode. There's only so many more losses you can handle, and none of them, the losses you can handle, are really in division if you have any hope of trying to win the division crown. Meanwhile, the win gets you within 1 in the column as far as trying to get that division crown. It's pivotal. It's absolutely pivotal that Kansas City wins this one. If they lose, they're really, really fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, they have to win this one against Denver, no doubt about it, just for all the reasons you just said. I mean, they cannot afford to lose this game and think that they're going to win the division without a lot of help. So at this point, they've got to help themselves now. And, it's going to be a tough one, no doubt about it. But I think they can go in there and do it, for all the things that we talked about earlier, coming off a bye, fresh, ready to go. They know what's at stake. And, as long as they can stay ahead of the chains, which is the key offensively, don't take any sacks, the penalties, get behind, second and long, third and long, where now they can blitz you and get after the quarterback. As long as we don't do that very often, I think we'll be okay.
I didn't want to draft this, but I kind of had to send Juwan a text and said Aaron Ladd said, "Don't be getting offside, don't be lining up off sides."
Who is Aaron Ladd to Jawan Taylor? He don't know who I am.
Whatever.
Hey, half the time,
yeah.
Half the time.
Hold on, I forgot about. I forget what you said before we went to break. So,
Yeah.
but no. So look. To your point, man. Look, I mean, I've been saying since the Jacksonville game that that every game has been a must-win for the Chiefs because, again, as you mentioned, there's only so many losses that you can have. Now, Patrick and them, they've kind of sounded the alarm, so to speak, after last week's game, and then going into this game. He talked about how important. I know Andy talked about it Monday, how important it is that they have to win this game. They see the games that everybody else has, and when you have teams like the Chargers and the Broncos who are in your division, their games above you, ahead of you, and they're winning ugly games that everything lining up says that they should be losing. They probably should have lost the Raiders game, last Thursday night, and they didn't. So they've been escaping. Those teams have been escaping in ways that Kansas City was doing all last year, and so those wins that should be losses. While the Chiefs have fallen, coming out of last game against Buffalo, doesn't put them in a really good position. When you look at where you are right now in the season, look, they're 5-4. They've got 9 games left. I'm sorry, 8 games left, and so they can't afford one. They can't afford this loss because it's a division loss, and that kind of multiplies by 2. And then you look at the team that's coming in the following week. So now you're facing literally the top 2 teams in the AFC these next 2 weeks. You can't afford a loss, and if you are going to, Vegas, as you all like to talk about, how
go
Vegas,
ahead, stamp it. There it is. Hey, 35
Vegas,
minutes in, that's good for you, Darren.
Yeah,
that's good. That's progress.
You're funny. If Vegas still has Kansas City as the favorite to win the Super Bowl, then you need to go out on the field and prove as to why. Again, you were doing it 3 weeks in a row, and then somehow you left your game on the plane in Buffalo. So now that you had a bye week, you got a chance to, rest up. As I said, you get no more excuses from me. So now Chiefs Kingdom and everybody else is going to realize you ain't got no more excuses because you know what's at hand. Look, you all have already said it. This is a must-win. Now, I want to ask JC a question about this. As a former player, when you knew that you had to win a game, not just like a Raiders, but you had to win a game, how much more pressure as a player did you feel it applied to you versus any other just normal? Because you can say that, yeah, every game is important, but you also know that if you lose a particular game, you find yourself further back and maybe out of the playoff race. So when you know that you're facing a must-win game for any type of situation, how do you, as a former player, the mindset coming into the game, knowing that you got to win that game? I mean, does it make you play different? Does it make you play with a sense of urgency or what?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody understands how big of a game this is, but it's not like a playoff game where, if you lose, your season's over. So you don't want to go into it. It's a big game, and
I mean, dial-up is
you need to
the
win.
Best of it.
But you don't want to go in saying this is do or die, must win, because then if you lose, what do you do the rest of the games? Yeah. Do we just mail it in if the season's over? No, you still got to play those games, and those games get bigger also. So it's not like a playoff game where if you lose, season's over and we go home. So yeah, it's a big game. We need to win it, but they don't like to say must win because the playoff games are must wins because you lose and it's over. So this is a big game that we need to win, and that's how it's approached in the locker room.
Oh, okay. So fair enough. So that's how it's approached. But little pushback, but let me ask you this. So, but as a player, see, so like it's a difference when you're Kansas City and let's say you're the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns going to the game against Baltimore. They're 2-7. They're pretty much out of the playoff race. They know, and you don't want the coach losing in the locker room or anything like that. So where's, you obviously get motivated because you're trying to get paid and stuff like that. But there's a different sense of the importance of this particular game versus, Chiefs Broncos, where again, you can't afford a loss versus Cleveland, where it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Because
I mean, it's a bit of a different mindset because it's not a typical week 10 game. But that's on the veterans, Pat, Kelsey, Trent, Chris. Those guys, even during the game, have got to continue to, hey, let's go, guys. Let's go. Let's turn it up. Let's go. Constantly letting guys know that, hey, we can't relax. We've got to play 4 quarters. We got to continue to go. Whether it's a regular game, guys may not say much. Let's just get through the game. But now, you'll see a sense of urgency, like, hey, let's make sure we don't let down. Let's go. Let's play. We need this win. So, yeah, it definitely is a different mindset, but you can't go into it as a player saying that it's a must win, because if we lose, then what? What do we say next week?
Aaron, point of personal privilege, I guess. Let me ask it. Jason, let me follow up with this. Now, from you being a former broadcaster, when you talk to whether it was college coaches or NFL coaches, when in this same situation, when you knew calling the game, it might have been a must-win situation. How did you feel like the coaches approached the games versus the players?
The same way. I mean, they know how big the game is, but you can't tell your team and talk all week about this is a must win. This is a must.
Do you feel like they coach it differently though? I mean, because
obviously there's a sense of urgency, and this is a big game. We've got to go. We can't have any letdowns. We need to win. Let's go. There's a sense of urgency. Especially coming off of a bye, because everything should be there, right? But you can't say, and the coaches don't say, hey, this is a must win. We have to win this game, because then if you somehow don't win it, what do you say next week? We're playing for next year already. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I got some numbers behind the Denver defense, and they're absolutely for real. Net yards per game, 3rd, yards per play, 1st, points per game, 3rd. Rushing yards per game allowed, they're 4th. Passing yards per game, they are 6th. Sacks, they are 1st. 3rd down percentage, they are 1st. Red zone touchdown percentage, they are 1st as well. This is a top 10 defense across the board. I know JC is shrugging his arms, but when you're playing, like to Darren's point, right? KC was a fat cat on some of these bad teams. They were beating up on Washington. They were beating up on the Raiders. They were getting their mojo right. And that's good. That's all well and good. The NFL, everybody's on scholarship. Everybody's paid. Everybody's professional. These are good teams. Mm-hmm. But now you're entering an upper crust. Now we're entering not only is it a pivotal point in your season where you need to win games to climb in the standings, you're playing the best of the best. You're playing top 10 teams. You're playing the best team of your division. You're playing the best team of your conference. Can Kansas City raise their game to play up against the best?
Well, you can say the same thing about them, right? They played the Raiders last week and, was awful. So, the NFL, and then look at, Buffalo beats the Chiefs, and then they lose to the Dolphins, right? So to your point that, everybody's on scholarship, everybody's, making money, everybody's getting paid. Week in and week out, you got to prepare, you got to match up, and you got to be ready to play. Numbers are numbers, and stats are stats. And, we never really, look, because we're not playing the same people at the same time. Yeah. Stats. Yeah, they're great. And they make great conversation and all that. But from a player standpoint, hey, they didn't do that against us. So, let's see if they can do that to us, and see what we can do to them. So that's kind of how they're approaching it. Now to that point, though, obviously you look at their strengths, try to take away their strengths, just like they're taking away yours. But you don't say, they've sacked the quarterback 46 times, so we can't throw the ball. No. You just say, hey, we got to find a way to slow their pass rush down, or, combat that rush in some kind of way.
Here's another thing I'll say. Kansas City's won the AFC West 9 years in a row. The division, their chance of extending that streak, that's also up for grabs this weekend. Like, if these guys, the leaders, the Pats, the Travs, the Trents, and the Chris's, if they really hold, and everybody holds stuff in regard, right? This is a team that is judged by Lombardi trophies. They're not necessarily judged by division titles, but that is a very impressive streak, an extremely long streak, something I'm sure that they're proud of. If they want to extend that streak and make it double digits, something I'm not sure it's been done in a very long time, you got to win this game. You must have this game. You must, and if we're not saying must win, or if we're just trying to phrase it a different way, say, hey, our division championship, our crown is up for grabs this weekend. This is the main opponent in the way that wants to take our crown from us. Are y'all going to let them do that? Use that as a motivating tool. If we don't want to say must win, then use the division title as a motivator.
I will say this because I don't know if we're going to predict the game or score whatever on the next game, but the next segment. But I will say this, one of the things that we cannot forget about it, that both the teams have great defense. Both the teams have top 5, top 6 defenses and top 5 scoring defenses. Both of these teams keep their opponents on average to 17 points a game. So this actually could be, while we think that Kansas City could, put 28, 31 points on the board like I normally think they would, this could be a game where neither team scores above 17 points because the defense could be that good as well.
And you see
JC, final thoughts before we get to break.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're a juggernaut. We saw what the Raiders did to them, and then we know how we feel about the Raiders and, the way they played against the Chiefs. So, it's not like the Chiefs are. I still say the Chiefs are the big boys on the block, and Denver's got to beat them. And if I'm correct, Darren, Vegas has the Chiefs as the favorites right now, right?
Yep.
Hey.
Not that I would know. But
So Vegas knows something, don't they? No, yeah, we'll see. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I bet you did.
We will predict the game on the other side, as well as take your audience feedback, comments, criticisms, and concerns. This is the Chief Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Final segment here on the Chief Squad Show in the midweek. Aaron Ladd, JC Pearson, and Darren Smith breaking down this Broncos matchup. I just want to remind everyone we are live 30 minutes after this game on Sunday. It is a 3:25 kick, Kansas City time. Remember, you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, and we are live on YouTube. Let's just go ahead and predict the game. Well, actually, I want to do this first. We'll get our predictions at the end. My boy C-Dot, Carrington Harrison, if you listen to him in KC, he tweeted this out, stole this straight from our text thread. I'll bring it here. Blank needs to step up for the Chiefs in the second half of the season. I know where Darren is going with this because he has called him out by name on this platform, but maybe he's not. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Darren. It could be a player. It could be a coach. It could be a fan. Who Blank needs to step up for the Chiefs in the second. Well, you said it previously. Am I tripping?
I mean,
you want me to go?
I said, yeah. Go ahead, JC. Go ahead.
It can be multiple people too. It doesn't just have to be one person. Have fun with it.
Okay.
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead, JC. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna speak for you and me.
But
hey, man, we all know. I mean, Chris Jones has got to step up the second half of the season. I'm gonna try to take the heat off of Darren because I know he has to go in the locker room and we were gonna tell Chris, but he does because and he knows not only can he be the best player on the field, but he can take heat off of other guys too and make other guys' jobs easier up front. He can demand and command double teams. Teams have to know where he's at. Right now, they've been single blocking him, and that's not acceptable. And so Chris has got to get back to being the Chris that we all know and expect them to be? And if so, this team and this defense can take a big step forward.
So for the second half, I will of course say Chris Jones, and for a lot of the reasons that JC said. And look, to me, it's the thing. Here's the thing: you are the leader. You're the highest paid player on the defense. You're one of the team captains. You're one of the people that they put on the media guides and stuff. Whether between you, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes, and so to whom much is given, much is required. And we wouldn't be doing our job as media folk, and of course, question or challenging Chris Jones to say like, bruh, just the numbers are what they are. And the thing is, the biggest issue that one could have with Chris is that in the summer, you call yourself challenging George Karlaftis after he got the big contract about making X amount of sacks or whatever, but then you turn around and here we are midpoint of the season and he's got twice as many sacks as you, if not if not 2.5 or 3 more. So that's the issue that someone would have. I would also say, who needs to do a better job of coaching the second half? I would give it more so on the offense, Andy Reid and Matt Nagy. Continue to put your players in position to move the ball down the field, but also you got to utilize all your players. I mean, Tyquan Thornton was an important part of the offense during the Rashee Rice absence and Xavier Worthy absence. And even though those 2 players are back, you still need to find ways to integrate him in the offense. Just at least have him on the field as a threat, and just don't put him out there at the end of a ball game where you need a deep throw and everybody can, you kind of telling your tale by doing that. So I think Chris Jones needs to be better, and I do. And look, everybody can be better because they're 5-4. But if I'm at to single some people out, I think the coaching staff and Harrison Butker, he's done well these last few weeks, but he needs to do better. Jawan Taylor needs to make sure he continues to do better where his name is
the
not
whole
being
roster,
called
Darren.
Just keep going.
No. The guy selling popcorn needs to be better.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. You did say we can name more than one person, so
yeah.
You took mine. I was going to go
Aaron?
Matt Nagy. I was going to go Matt Nagy because you know where I'm going with this. We got to get more creative ways to extend the run game. We cannot become one-dimensional as far as the run game is concerned. I understand there's depth problems right now. I understand that Elijah Mitchell or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whoever that third guy is, it cannot just be Kareem Hunt and Patrick Mahomes carrying the load as far as the run game is concerned. And at a certain point, it has to be on your coaches to find creative ways to get that going. Also, Darren,
hold on. Let me ask you this though, because look, and I know a lot of people like to joke about this, and look, I include Matt Nagy because I give him credit and blame just like I would Eric Bieniemy when he was here. But a lot of people say that Andy Reid's the one that's calling the plays, so that's why I say if you're gonna say Matt Nagy, you got to see Andy Reid, because if people want to give all the credit and blame to Andy Reid when it comes to the play calling, unlike me, I give share blame. I think that's the way that you ought to. That's just my opinion. That you ought to go with that.
I'm fine with that as well. Big Red is not blameless. He can still share. So, and the reason why it doesn't always land on his shoulders, I guess, is because he's always taking so much of it, and he's always eating so much of what's not his fault that sometimes it feels like we can just distribute that. But I'm with you. I hear you. My other one that I was going to say needs to step up in the second half, and I like where you were headed with this with special teams, is the return game. I can't remember the last time KC has had an impact return game and has flipped the field. Can special teams do anything to help the offense out? The game is played in 3 phases. I know we spent a lot of time talking about offense, defense, and then Harrison Butker as just blanket for special teams. But the return game has offered a net negative for Kansas City this year. I'm looking at some of the numbers right here. Punts returned 8 yards on average, 25. Kickoff returns, they're 25th. You at a certain point, you have to be that third phase that gets the ball going, that changes the field. That
I got a question for you.
The offense.
But I had a question, and I don't know if it's a question or pushback. So, I mean, when you're the other team, you don't want Patrick to have good field position. So most of the time, you're either going to kick it deep, or if you're punting, you're going to try to punt the ball, towards out of bounds. So
that's not what's happening, though, Darren. That's not what's happening. They're not kicking it out of bounds every time.
No.
They're not kicking it out of bounds every time.
Aaron. I'm not saying they're kicking, but I'm saying play call wise, again, you're not trying to give Patrick Mahomes good field position. So especially if you're punting now, kickoff can have his own, You got to land the spot, all stuff you got to do. So that's different. But I'm saying punt wise, you're not really trying to put the ball in play. Saying to give Nico a chance to return it, because you don't want Patrick Mahomes having a good field position. So a lot of times, if I'm a coach or a special teams coach, I'm trying to have the punter kick the ball as close to the sideline, near the end zone as possible. So if he does try to return it, you got enough players on that side of the field that they, saying that you can hit him and probably, get it close out of bounds.
That's not what I've seen. And truthfully, I haven't seen Kansas City have a dynamic returner since Kadarius Toney.
Well, yeah. But I mean, we've had some decent returns. The problem is when we have those decent returns, it seems like we have a penalty.
Holding.
Exactly. That brings the ball back. So that's been an issue as well. So, we've got to cut down the special teams penalties too, because, like I said, when we do have a decent return, it seems like it always comes back.
Let's get our predictions in. Let's go to Vegas. Let's see what it get. What's the line on it, Darren? Do you know the line off the top of your head?
Maybe -3.5.
Just maybe.
The Chiefs getting 3?
Yeah, the Chiefs get 3.5.
Okay.
Minus I think 200 money line, which is where I would go. I don't trust the Chiefs when it comes to points.
I don't understand all that part, but
well, money line is just straight win or lose. So they either win or they don't.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
But I mean I'm good with that. I think they do what they need to do to go up there and get a win. And I think the big thing too is, like Darren touched on earlier, is no Patrick Surtain. The other thing is their starting running back is questionable, who has the majority of their carries and yards. Their running game, Aaron, drops way off without him. So that could be a big issue as well.
You're talking about J.K. Dobbins.
Yes, yep. J.K. Dobbins.
Got a foot injury.
Yes. So their rushing game takes a huge hit without him when you look at the stats and the numbers. So that could be a big factor as well. But I'm taking the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs go in there with minus those two big guys and get a win in Denver. And, I'm going to go 27-23 Kansas City.
I don't know about the game. Look, if Dobbins is out, I don't see where they really get the points from, because obviously they're going to try to throw the football, but I don't really like their chances against Trent McDuffie or Jalen Watson. But I do know that the Chiefs need to score points because they need to put themselves in position, because I do think it's going to be a tight game just because it's a division matchup. Anything can happen in those type of games. But I'm gonna go Chiefs. I don't think, man, I really want to have to rely on Harrison Butker, but I'm gonna give the Chiefs
the altitude with Harrison.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the weather should be fine. Yeah. I'll go. It'll be 60. I'm gonna say Chiefs 31, Broncos 17.
31-17.
I don't feel confident.
I think they get a late score. I think Denver gets a late score to just make it a little bit more respectable.
Wow.
I don't feel confident in picking Kansas City this week. The only reason I feel Kansas City is going to win because they need it more.
Let me text Spag.
Well, I'm not paid by the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't even really cover them anymore. This is my platform right here. But let me continue. Let me finish it off. Kansas City needs this game more. That's why I think they push more. I think it's a tight game. I think it's an ugly game. I think both teams struggle to score. I think this is a game where special teams and field position mean a lot. And I like a low score. I'm closer towards you, JC. I think Kansas City gets it, but it's like a 24-21 type contest. I don't think this is a game where either team goes above 30. I think this is a division game where both of them is kind of like a heavyweight prize fight. They both feel each other out, kind of similar to what the Buffalo game was. I didn't think that either team was really blowing each other out. It's back and forth. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I could still absolutely see a world in which Kansas City kind of doesn't put their best performance out there. It's just too much instability in the offense.
I don't
my only pushback is that it's too much. It's more at stake than for the Chiefs than it is the Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos can't afford to lose the game, and I think they will. But I just think that Kansas City doesn't want a close game because, things start getting tight and they start reflecting back on the Buffalo game. I think Kansas City gets out early, tries to get at least a 2-score lead and tries to maintain it like that.
Yeah. If we don't turn the ball over, I don't see their offense being able to consistently drive the ball, especially with no J.K. Dobbins. I don't see their offense being good enough. Bo Nix to consistently move the ball on Kansas City. So Kansas City just takes care of the ball, stays ahead of the chains, and, don't get any kind of strip sack or, gets the ball knocked out some kind of way and give them great field position. All things being equal and clean, Kansas City wins this game.
What I can't say before we go is that I think Sean Payton tries to muck it up, but also expect a big game on the ground from Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is going to run the football a lot.
We're all picking Kansas City across the board. We appreciate you joining us. We are live 30 minutes after the game goes 000 on Sunday. Any final thoughts, fellas?
Nah, just tune into the. No, go ahead.
You about to promote a different show? You about to promote
it's a show I'm on that I do.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying.
We'll see y'all next time.